Okay, algebra. Let's go over our worksheet here. We have, maybe you guys can see it better if I do this. Okay, so number 1, 2x equals 24. When we put them together like this, that means that they are being multiplied, right? So what are we trying to get by itself? The x. We want the x all by itself. Remember, this side is exactly the same as this side. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other side of that equal sign. Okay, what is the inverse of a multiplication? It's division. The opposite of multiplication is division. So how do we get rid of this 2 over here? We divide. And what we do to one side, we do to the other side. This is going to equal 1. It leaves us with our x. What is 24 divided by 2? If you don't know it off the top of your head, 2 goes into 2 once. 0, we bring down our 4. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 times 2 is 4, gives us 0. So our answer is 12. Now remember that we check this. 2 times, and we're going to put it in parentheses here, 12 equals, whoops, now I wrote it wrong, 24. Because we're going back to our original up here. Remember, 2 times x, 2x equals 24. So 2x, which is our 12, equals 24. So what is 2 times 12? 24. Does 24 equal 24? Yes, it does. Good job. So the answer here, x equals 12. Okay. Number 2, got 7y. Now remember, it doesn't have to be x. Usually we use x, but it can be any letter. So in this case, we have a y equals 5. Same thing as the last one. What is our inverse? How do we get the y by itself? It's multiplying, so we use our inverse of the multiplication, which is division. Divide both sides by 7. That's going to equal a 1 and leave us with just our y. So we have y equals 5/7. And check it. Make sure we check it. And I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. I'm fine with fractions. Okay, so our original 7 times 5/7 equals 5. 7, these 7s are going to cancel, which leaves us with just our 5. 5 equals 5. Yes, it does. It checks. So our y equals 5/7. Okay, number 3. In -4 plus 2 equals 22. Now, a good rule of thumb in some of these is to first combine like terms. Now, there's no other n's, so we don't have to worry about it. We'll just bring it straight down. Okay? You have -4 plus 2. So what is -4 plus 2? We take the difference, right? So the difference is 2. And because our bigger number is our negative, then we bring down that negative. Equals 22. We just bring that straight down. Okay. Now, how do we get that in by itself? This is subtraction. So what is the inverse of subtraction? addition. So we're going to add 2. And what we do to one side, we do to the other side. This is going to be 0, so we're just going to bring down our n. 22 plus 2, 24. So our n equals 24. Let's check it. Put in our n, 24 minus 4 plus 2 equals 22. 24 minus 4, 20, plus 2 equals 22. 20 plus 2, 22, and we check. So our n, we know, is 24. Okay. All right, the next one. Now I know some of these didn't look quite right when we put them in. So y divided by, that's a negative 5, is equal to 25. How do we get that y by itself? This is division. What is the inverse of a division? Multiplication. Okay. Now, you'll notice that this also has a negative here. Negatives, if we did it by a positive 5, and times both sides by a positive 5, because remember what we do to one side does to the other side, then we're still going to end up with a negative over here on this side. We don't want a negative on this side. So how do we get rid of this negative as well? Negative times a negative equals a positive. So we make sure that they are negatives. Both sides negative. This will cancel, leaving us with a y. So then what is, this is not to the 5th power, this is just timesing it here by a negative 5. 25 times a negative 5, well, positive times a negative equals a negative. So we know that much. Let's try 25 times 5. 5 times 5, 25, carry our 2, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So we have a negative 125. Let's check that. 125, remember we plug it into our original formula, divided by negative 5 equals 25. Let's give it a try. These negative signs here are going to cancel each other out. What is 5, or 125, divided by 5? 5 goes into our 12 here, 2 times, gives us a 10. Bring down our 5. 5 goes into 25, 5 times, gives us 0. So we have 25 on this side equals 2. Does it equal our right number? Yes, it does, 25. So our y is equal 125, negative 125. Okay. Number 5. We have n squared equals 400. Okay. N squared. What is the inverse of a square? It's a square root. Okay, so we're going to square root both sides. That leaves this side with an n. What is the square root of 400? What times itself is going to equal 400? Think about it for a second. Okay, the answer is 20. Check it, just in case you don't believe it. 0, 0. Then we have our placeholder, 0, 4. Add them together. Yes. Okay, so n equals 20. Let's go ahead and check it this way. N, whoops, wait a minute. N, which we say is 20 squared, equals 400. Oh, now we just did our check. So is 20 times 20 equal 400? Yes, it does. Okay, so that was number 5. Okay, so number 6, I don't have a little button that helps me to put the square root sign in there. So, square root, that's our square root. Square root of x equals 5. What is the inverse of a square root? We have to square it, right? So we're going to square both sides. That leaves this side with our x. What is 5 squared? What does it mean? 5 times itself. So 5 times 5 is 25. Let's check it. Square root 25 equals 5. Is the square root of 25 5? Yes, it is. Okay, so our answer, 25. All right, let's do a couple other ones. We're just going to keep doing review. We're just going to keep focusing on these.